These are the top crypto stories of the day. We have a UK woman who stole $2.5 billion worth of Bitcoin, but there's a plot twist. Also, SBF sentencing is about to happen. Should he get a slap on the wrist or spend the rest of his life behind bars? And then last but not least, we have a crypto prison escape story. 2 Binance executives are on the lam. It's time to go around the blockchain. Thank you for joining, everybody. Make sure you go ahead and smash that like button out the gate. Go ahead and move that mouse to that little spot. Click that button, and our 3 guests will appreciate it because we got the 3 smartest dudes in all of crypto. I don't want to say all the people. There's some smart ladies out there as well. But we're going to go ahead and lead with Matt Snider, or Matthew. Matthew, how are you doing today?
Doing great, DZ. Happy Mutant Monday. I'd like to see all the action this weekend.
Do you got the mutant
Going
gear
crazy. Not on my shirt. That's for sure.
Oh,
this is Bloom. This is Bloom. Yeah.
I got a banana where this. Never mind. Anyways, also on today we have Matt. Wait a minute, that's not his name. We have Johnny Crypto. We're going to be fixing that, but we do have his @ correctly there. Johnny _crypto. They're trying to throw him in Twitter jail. Come on, Elon, what gives? So guys, make sure you go ahead, follow him. Now, Matt Snider / Johnny Crypto, how are you doing today?
Honestly, I could be a Matthew. Maybe once upon a time, my parents might have actually thought of naming me Matthew rather than naming me after a toilet, you know, the John. So anyway, it's good to be here. Thanks, DZ.
Yes, the toilet invented by a man with the last name Crapper. Real story. And then also on, we have OJ Jordan hailing from Argentina. Javier Milei, man, he's been hitting the news lately. OJ, how are you doing? You've been watching some of these Javier vids.
Yes, of course. I'm doing very good, actually. It's a very sunny Monday here, which is nice. Last week was really gloomy and everything. We're going into autumn here in Argentina. It's my first time here, so I wasn't prepared. So I'm still riding the summer wave. And then I'll be heading to Barcelona very soon. So maybe next time we talk, I will be in Barcelona.
All right. And you said Barcelona without airs. You know, sometimes you hear Barcelona, you know, they throw a little too much accent on it. It's like, all right, reel it in a little. All right. But speaking about reeling it in, this woman reeled in billions of dollars of Bitcoin. Let me share the screen real quick. UK woman found guilty of laundering $2.5 billion worth of Bitcoin. Is this some bank executive or some hacker? No, this is a UK hospitality worker. And we scroll down here, she got a staggering $2.5 billion. It is the largest seizure ever made in the UK here. In this case, was pretty interesting. She's a 42-year-old citizen here. And according to prosecutors, she was just living a modest lifestyle, living above a Chinese restaurant. And then next thing you know, she's in a house with a $21,000 a month rent there. But what is happening here is because share one more time, she met a Chinese nationalist named Yadi Zhang, who's believed to be the source of this fortune. And then during a period, she tried to buy a house worth $4.5 million, $23 million, $12 million. But when she tried to buy the house worth $30 million, that's when she finally raised some red flags right there. Now, there's a lot of weird stuff going on with this story. Now, Matthew, I want to lead with you, Matt. Now, something about this smells fishy. What were your thoughts when you just saw the inconsistencies here?
My thoughts are pretty similar to how I feel most criminal activity is, which is I'm astonished at the genius that people can get acquiring $2.5 billion, and astonished again at the idiocy that they think they can go buy a property for $30 million when they weren't making very much money previously. It's very, very interesting that you could be so smart on one level and then yet so completely stupid on another level. It is very interesting to see, again, sort of the connections that some of these folks have in this space. And it's always probably, you know, we're seeing in many of these criminal cases, it's taking at least two to tango. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was a little bit of help from, you know, one of her national friends on this side of things. But it's just astonishing. $2.5 billion is not a small amount of money.
It Takes Two to Tango. That could be the title of the rom-com that's eventually made from this series of events here. Rocky Road's pretty funny comment. I had to read it. I like to meet that woman. I'm sure you would, Rocky. Now, the hard part is getting that seed phrase. Now, Johnny,
Right.
let's put yourself in some of these players' shoes right quick. You wake up and you have a wallet with $2.5 billion worth of Bitcoin. I don't think you're going to go try to buy a bunch of mansions with these funds. What are you doing?
Well, if it's stolen, you go back to work so that you don't have any red flags.
Smart.
And it's always about the human condition of greed. People get greedy, and that's how they get caught. So maybe the smarter route would have been to potentially start some other businesses, buy some smaller businesses. So then after a while, it looks like you made some money in potentially some other endeavors, not just right off the bat, just starting to buy a bunch of houses here. And to launder Bitcoin, I mean, we've known for a while that Bitcoin is, it's a public ledger. So pretty much you can track down, why did it take this long to realize that there was $2.5 billion that was being lost? Like the article talks about from 2017, 2018, 2019. And we all know Bitcoin hit 69,000 back then. So at that point, people would probably be wanting to know where that money was, or the people that own the wallet. So I don't know. It's an interesting story for sure.
Yeah, Johnny raised a good point here. I want to share the screen one more time. The investigation spanned 5 years, and they end up subpoenaing 48 different electronic devices, looked at thousands of files, much of it in Mandarin there. Now, so it looks like the UK, through some extensive investigating, probably needed some, hey, I don't know what this is. Call up the nerd, your nerdy nephew, bring him down to the office. Eventually they end up tracking it down. Now, OJ, I want to ask you, let's say UK authorities, they got their hands on all of it. They got them to transfer it. They didn't just say, oh, I'm not telling you a seed phrase. Probably some leniency is going to be offered, so the UK authorities get their hands on this $2.5 billion worth of Bitcoin. The question to you, OJ, what does UK do with that Bitcoin, and what should they do?
I'm not really sure what they're going to do, because we don't really have, this is a precedent. We don't really have other big cases like that to go by. But I think what the FBI used to do in the past was to auction these funds. So I would suggest that they do something like that. They have a very hostile approach, the UK government. I'm in fact British, just as much as she is British. I mean, she's Chinese originally, judging by her name. So I don't know if they're going to keep the money or they're going to auction the money. But to me, this case smells like some sort of an organized Chinese mafia type of crime, because, I mean, she's clearly not been doing this on her own. And they only mention one more person, but $2.5 billion between just two people, that's not really the whole case. Definitely there's, and 48 devices or whatever it was, 48 electronic devices and thousands of files. This is not going to be just a two people case. For me, this is a much bigger case with, and definitely it's a lot of people involved, not just a couple of people. And
so
it's a Chinese,
like a Lee Harvey Oswald, do you think she's a patsy here? Allegedly.
Yeah. I mean, she's the British national. She's the one that has the citizenship in Britain and the job in Britain. So clearly she was convenient in order to launder the money and run them through. I mean, she was working in hospitality, so maybe they were doing Airbnb or some sort of other bed and breakfast type of business. And at some point they started working with bigger amounts and they got caught. But
what do you think the genesis? I mean, is this ring like CCP to you, OJ, Lazarus Group, or just like an OG Bitcoin bull that's just got billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin here?
Well, no, Lazarus Group is in North Korea, so
some would say it's a proxy of CCP.
Oh yeah, or maybe, I don't know. No, I doubt if actually the Chinese government is involved, but it's an underground kind of schemes that Chinese are running, and in England there's a lot of those actually, and there's a lot of Russian schemes, and I mean, In England, somehow I don't know why. I mean, British authorities are quite strict, but for some reason, they do try to do that in England a lot.
All right. And Zachary Martin, comment of the day so far. OJ Jordan kind of looks like a Latin Robert Downey Jr. Ha ha ha. Compliment. You meant it as a compliment. Yeah, I would take that as a compliment there. Except for the Corey Haim thing, but that's a whole nother story. All right. I shouldn't have brought that up. Anyways, let's go to the second topic here, SBF. If I share my screen here, former crypto king Sam Bankman-Fried set for sentencing this week. And I just want to read one paragraph and show you Polymarket. He's facing up to 110 years. Prosecutors want a 40 to 50 year. We went to Polymarket. This is what people are actually betting on. This is the markets here. Wow, it is now refreshed to 27.27. It was 27.28. Let me just hit refresh. I want to make sure we have the freshest data here. Yeah, the crowd is split. Really, 20-30, 30-40, 40-50. People can't decide what it's going to end up being here. But yeah, he's found guilty. 2 counts of wire fraud, 5 counts of conspiracy. His defense, that's prosecutors asking for 40-50. His defense, though, his lawyers, they're arguing for 5 to 6 years. Come on, I think 5 years is enough here. Let's see, the Attorney General, U.S. Attorney Kevin O'Brien, he said he expects the 31-year-old to receive a sentence in the teens or lower. Is what the assessment seems to be right now. Now, Matt, I see you shaking your head again, man. What are your thoughts here? Is 5 years too lenient? Is 50 years too much? Should it be 20 life sentences? Should he forever be mishandling soap? I mean, what are your thoughts here?
Honestly, I would love to see the justice system do a little bit more than they typically would when it comes to financial fraud and shenanigans. In 2008, not a single person who was associated with any of these mortgage-backed securities or derivatives got put in prison, despite all pretty much perpetuating the entire breakdown of the ecosystem. This one person is responsible for billions and billions of dollars of investor losses, and I would love to see as much of any book get thrown at him as possible. So I'm really gunning for 25 to 30 years. I think that would be appropriate. 50 would be great, but the real alpha here is the logo of that prop bet that you have, which is just Sam Bankman's face behind bars. I thought that was fantastic.
Yeah, I do like that. I do like that. All right. Yeah, right there. All right, we share one more time. Yeah, it's pretty good stuff right there. All right, well, let's see. Johnny, if we can share it one more time. What do you think of these three, 20 to 30, 30 to 40, 40 to 50? Where do you think it's going to end up? Or is it going to be, much lower, teens, or even 5 or 6 years like he wants?
Truthfully, I think it's going to be single digits. I think he's going to get away with, definitely going to have to do some jail time. But I mean, you're talking about one of the biggest investors in the Democrat Party for the last election here. And we've seen time and time again, just like what Matthew was saying about 2008. Here recently, Wells Fargo is ordered to pay something like $4 billion for stealing, I think, 6 to 8 of people's money by just randomly signing up more people for more checking accounts and taking the monthly fees. They get away with it because they're all in. It's a matter of who you know. And unfortunately, Sam Bankman-Fried knows a lot of people. So if it was anybody else, they would get the book thrown at him. I'm here thinking he's going to get a much less sentence. Not that it's going to be justified, just the sheer fact that he's got a lot of friends.
Well, what are the odds that his family and his position is so high profile that they have to make him a scapegoat? Like even his own mother, you know what? You're making our system look bad. Or do you think, they'll just say, we don't care what you guys think. We're just going to try to get him off with a lenient sentence. I mean, what are the odds that they go the opposite route? Like all eyes are on us, so we better give him 50 years.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely one way of thinking it. I just think that the news headlines are going to say he goes to jail, and people are going to forget about it and they're going to think that it's due cause. We're all going to forget about this story after a while. And to be fair, a lot of his funds have been retrofied too during the deal. There's still a lot of people that are out some money, but they're rectifying it. And I'm going to go the Mark Twain deal. If you find yourself on the side of the majority, you should stop and reflect. And so I'm going to go against the majority and say that he's going to get off with single digits.
All right. I'm also going to go the Mark Twain route and get other people to paint my fence for me. All right. OJ, I have to ask you this since you're in Argentina. I can't help. Had SBF tried this in Argentina, Javier Milei wouldn't give him a slap on the wrist, wouldn't let him get off with, a very, very lenient sentence. How do you think the justice system would have performed had this happened in Argentina under Javier Milei's rule?
Oh, well, he's trying to crack down on everything, right? So possibly he would make an example of him. I wish they can do that in America, but I must agree with Johnny here that I'm not sure about single digits, but he's definitely not going to get the 50 years that we hope. And I don't think these type of crimes typically get the maximum sentence anyway, right? So we shouldn't really be expecting anything too much like 40 or 50 years. I feel that perhaps around 20 would be to me, it makes more sense to be something around 20, but it's possible to be even less, which would be bad.
All right. And someone's asking, where can you do the bets? It's called polymarket.com. Make sure you don't go to a fake one where they'll just try to drain your EVM wallet. Let's see. He's not a shot caller. He's a back shot caller. Oh, I maybe shouldn't have read that one there. Yeah, people saying he is a fraud, of course. Still haven't forgot about his Solana bags. So someone else had a pretty good comment. I think it said he's going to wait for the cycle top, cash out his meme coins, and then buy off the Justice Department. Hey, I wouldn't say that's a super unlikely scenario. All right, now the next one, next video here. Let me make sure I hit this on refresh. I want to make sure we have audio. There's a 60-second explainer over this headline right here. Nigeria charging Binance with tax evasion after an executive escapes. Hannah, if you can let me know. This is from Coin Bureau. The Nigeria Binance story gets even weirder, and this is about 50 seconds, sums up everything.
Getting even more serious. Breaking news has come out as a Binance executive has just escaped from prison in Nigeria, and Nigeria files for tax evasion charges against Binance. Here is everything you need to know. Over the last month, the Nigerian government has been cracking down on crypto hard, banning cryptocurrency exchange websites, and the authorities have even gone as far as to demand to see full lists of Binance's Nigerian users. In an effort to then address the ongoing issues in the country, 2 Binance executives actually flew to Nigeria, but they were detained upon arrival and their passports were seized. Now, one of the 2 executives from Binance has since escaped from custody after guards on duty led him to a nearby mosque to pray. According to local media, he fled and boarded an international flight. Pretty crazy stuff. So what's going to happen next?
All right, so he was taken to a mosque. It was Ramadan, I believe. It was a day of prayer for them, and he managed to escape during transport and then jumped on a Arab country's plane or some, registered within an Arab country. Some speculation he's in UAE or traveling in that direction. Investigations are still ongoing for the destination, but, no one knows for sure what is happening. Binance hasn't issued any kind of statement as of this point. But now, Matt, this is speculation. I feel like we're going into Catch Me If You Can territory here with Leo DiCaprio and the Epstein Island guy, Tom Hanks. But how do you think he escaped? I don't know why I said that.
Good. How did he escape? Is that the question?
Yeah. How do you think this happened? I mean, do you think it was like he put on a Groucho Marx mustache? Was there funds switching hands? Did a silent helicopter descended and he rappelled out? What do you think happened here?
The exact same thing probably happened in an episode of Homeland where somebody uses a mosque and knows people in the mosque who help them get away from people who are chasing them or trying to detain them. The other option is certainly from Shanghai Noon with Owen Wilson and Jackie Chan, where they use urine and a bar and a t-shirt to pry the bars open and then they escape.
There's also the escape from Alcatraz where you have a paper mache head in the praying position.
That's right.
And you just, he's still there. Do you think, there were did some Bitcoin change hands, do you think?
Oh, if I'm running away and maybe a ledger drops out or maybe some seed phrases drop out, like that might be
Just,
like an interesting way to leave
he's
a
just
trail
running
behind.
and a
But
ledger falls out of his pocket, and the guard is like, I pick up the ledger with the seed phrase conveniently taped to it, or I keep chasing him. I know what choice
yeah,
I would
and
make.
it just like the last seed phrase word is love.
Yeah, it's you know what? No, or it's like a Slumdog Millionaire thing. Like he guesses
Oh yeah.
correctly because of all the events in his
Oh yeah.
lifetime. Johnny, point blank. Now you're a little bit of a rogue. I don't know how closely you traversed in the outlaw lifestyle. Those who don't know Johnny Crypto, he got his start in motocross. Riding around on the hog. He's no stranger to that. Maybe criminal elements in that world. I don't know. But Johnny, I want to ask you point blank.
You use VPNs. We all.
Well, I was going to say,
Napster
are you
days, right?
rooting
I
for
think
this guy? Are you rooting for this guy? Or are you rooting for, no, let's get him caught?
honestly, this guy's probably going to get a bigger penalty than Sam Bankman-Fried because he ran away, right? Sam kind of went away for a little while, but I think it's a play on word as far as the news. The news, it's clickbait. You need to get people to click on articles. So having this guy escapes. Maybe he was just on some sort of you can't leave the country, until you're sentencing. And what does he do? He leaves the country. So I unfortunately am not rooting for him at this point because he probably would have been better off just staying right where he was and accepting what is going to come to him. And yeah, it was going to suck in the short term, potentially in the long term. Maybe he would get a much lower sentencing.
Well,
So,
Johnny, the follow-up, he was in Nigeria. They hadn't charged him yet. What do you think the conclusion was going to be? Was it going to be maybe money in officials' hands? Were they eventually going to charge him and he would beat the charges or eventually get a bond to post? What was his eventual mechanism of leaving?
if I'm speculating, he was afraid to go to jail, right? That's usually why everyone starts running. But in today's digital world, it's damn near impossible to ever get away. And what kind of style of life is he going to have if he stays away for 2 to 3 to 4 or 5 years? Like it's going to be incredibly difficult. You're not going to be able to have lots of friends, and you're always going to be looking over your shoulder. And at that time, he probably would have been already out of sensing. So unless it was something where he thought he was literally going to get life. So I don't know if I'm speculating, though. I think he just got his britches in a giant wedgie, and it was FOMO. So he was scared of dropping the soap or something. So he decided to leave Dodge.
Probably real punishing in those jails too. You know what I mean? I don't know. Anyway, I shouldn't even have said that. Now I don't even know what I was going to say. I'm reading some of the comments here. New World Disorder talking about how he escaped. Could have been a tunnel in New York, like those one kind. Also, New World. He was shouting the seed phrase while running. That might work too. You throw a ledger and you're like, "Hey, paper mouse, whatever." I'm just looking around. Timothy CZ. He showed up with dynamite and a cake, like on DuckTales. That's the funnest one. I like to think that's kind of how it went down. All right. Now, OJ, I got to ask you, how many Bitcoin do you think it took? Or, was he just a Houdini type and, managed to do it without any Bitcoin changing ledgers?
I think he didn't have time enough to be doing the whole Bitcoin bribery type of thing, because it's not like everyone is open to crypto yet, right? So
well, Nigeria, there's a lot of adoption in Nigeria, though, to be fair.
There is. And in fact, the Nigerian government is really cracking down, which is pretty much against the will of people. So I'm actually rooting for the guy. I'm rooting for anyone that is opposing this corrupt system that they have. I mean, the Nigerian government is one of the most corrupt in the world. This is a known fact. And I don't really see this as a legitimate case. I feel that they crack down on crypto way too hard, and on Binance especially way too hard. And it's a silly thing to try and escape indeed, because now he's going to be in Interpol is after him. I mean, it's a much worse situation now than it used to be before this, and he probably would have gotten decent lawyers and stuff. But also, this government is too corrupt, so you can't even trust the legal system there. So I don't blame him for escaping. I just don't know whether it's he's gonna be able to hide for much longer.
Well,
so
you brought up a
we'll
good
see
point.
how
I
it goes.
want to throw a speculative query at you here. So yeah, on one hand, it was probably difficult for him to negotiate a Bitcoin bribe while locked up. But what about Binance executive team? Would it make sense for Binance to have systems in place to get people out of jail in other countries? AKA, if you were CZ, would you authorize, pay them 10 Bitcoin and see if we can get our employee out, just for your own employees' satisfaction and, so they could work worry-free in a lot of these countries? Do you think that's a possibility? And, would it be wrong to do that?
I don't think it would be wrong. I would say this would make sense, but I think that now they're really trying to set an example with Binance, the way they crack down on them. So perhaps they're going too hard on them, and this is why he felt like escape was his only chance, because perhaps they couldn't buy them. I would assume at first when they arrested them and everything, there would be some negotiations going on that would try to cut a deal or something like that. And maybe they just saw that a deal is not happening. And it's sad, because the whole crackdown on crypto by the Nigerian government, for me, is very unfair. I mean, they sold the country to China. There's so many Chinese assets, to the point where there's even Chinese police in Nigeria and Lesotho, overseeing the assets and making sure that everything is safe and stuff like that. So Nigeria is just a mess. It's a shit show. And I don't see this crackdown on crypto being a legitimate one. I feel that they're just trying to set an example, and they're doing it because they really want to force their population to use their own currency, which is devaluating so much. I mean, it's similar to what happened here in Argentina as well. So I don't really know there's a lot of question marks around this case. We'll see how it goes. But the crackdown on Binance right now, for me, this is very orchestrated, and it's just a show.
All right, and you said the S-hole word. I can't say it as an American, but when you have an accent, you can say it. If I say it, it'll follow me for years and years and years. So I better not call any country a S-hole. Johnny Crypto, just real quick, your CZ or your CZ, you're an executive. What do you clear to try to get this man out? Are you willing to pay the guard 1 Bitcoin, 10 Bitcoin, 100? What's your number that you're signing off on to get your employee out?
Unfortunately, maybe it's not a popular opinion, but it's more about keeping Binance in good opinion of the public eye. So if you need to have him go down to have the corporation survive, that's what they're going to do. But behind those doors, there's probably going to be some wire transfers of some Bitcoin to be like, hey, you're taking the team. But because things are so publicly, people kind of like to see people crash and burn, and to win the public perception back. So I don't know if we'll really see what you're talking about, and maybe I'm just
you're
I'm not going to say
Johnny.
it, but unfortunately, that's my thought.
No, you got a pure heart. You're like the Vin Diesel, but motocross. It's just crypto, family, and dirt ovals,
Yeah, sure.
right?
I'll go with that.
All right, we'll take it. We'll take it. What does he say? Quarter mile, family, Corona. So I can't remember. It's been a while since I've seen. I think it's like F2 or F3. Matt, last question here. What are you authorizing? Are you giving them 10 Bitcoin, 20 Bitcoin? 1? I mean, what's your employee worth?
0.
Oh, you're leaving him. All right, man.
He's
just gonna have to
totally
get out on his
him.
own will. His own
I
wiles and guile.
Yeah, I take the Paul Walker route. I'm out of here.
Okay, not crashing because you gave your supercar to a friend who doesn't know how to drive as you sat in the passenger seat. No, not that way. But on that dark note, we're going to end the show, everybody. I got to pass it to OJ. OJ, you are our international man. We got an international story here coming out our ears. So, OJ, feel free. Give the people some parting thoughts, please, and give them a DZ palate cleanser.
Well, guys, we've been talking about crime this whole episode. So I would say, try to avoid it. Try to pay your taxes, you know, everything that you can do in order to stay on the right side of the law, because we see that all the countries right now are crashing down on crypto. The European Union is crashing down heavily. The US is, you know, also. So unfortunately, the libertarian movement and this whole thing of, you know, crypto opposing, you know, the banking system and governments is not going exactly like that. So we'll have to join them and work hand in hand. This is what I feel.
All right, and folks, we do have some breaking news. We're going to go, we'll probably cover these tomorrow. Happened a little too late. Thank you, Mr. Kennedy. Hopefully not one of the ones that the intelligence agencies don't like. No, from according to Bitcoin Magazine, 5 minutes ago, hit that like button if you like the breaking news. Gold mining company, we share this, Neelam Resources, to acquire 24,000 Bitcoin worth $1.76 billion. So very, very big bullish news there. Also, XRP. Looks like the SEC is going after XRP as well. We're going to cover those as well. All right, that's all we got for today. Thank you for joining, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow.